Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Rule Persia, the podcast where we rated and reviewed all the kings of Persia from Darius to Yazdegerd III. Today, the first round of semifinals. I'm Sariel, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Umberto, and my pronouns are he, him. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first semifinal, where the choices that were already difficult become monumental, and we get ready to aim towards the grand final in, 3 episodes. That's when everything comes to a head. That's when all the years of work will finally culminate in knowing who our favorite King of Kings is and who do we think deserves most to be known by the people.
Easy, right?
So, exciting stuff. And today we'll be facing off Darius the Great and Seleucus Nicator. Both the first of their name, from different time periods, both relatively founders of an empire. And, that's going to be an exciting time. We'll get to find out what their deal is, and we get to re-rank them based on new categories, Serial. But we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yes, because my first question was going to be what is Nicator bringing to the table that will make him stand against Darius the First? You know.
He has a bunch of features, and I think the re-ranking will, if not work in his favor, at least make him, point out his faculties.
Worthy
we can see how good he is. So I'm guessing from that statement, Serial, that you have a favorite in today's competition.
It's not that I'm ready to be convinced otherwise. It's just that I remember Darius, and I keep forgetting about Seleucus. Nicator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, missing the name is not a good start.
Exactly. And this is not a reflection of what he actually did. Like, of course, I remember us doing his episode, but I guess it wasn't as memorable for me, you know?
Well, we'll find out. I'll try and play devil's advocate and see if you can be convinced of Seleucus. But first of all, Sarah, we need to go back to our last round and see, did people agree with our choice to send Seleucus Nicator and Antiochus the Great forward? Do you think we made a controversial choice last time, or do you think we were broadly where people expected it?
I think we were reasonable, and it was a hard choice.
That's fair. And that is kind of matched with the poll we put on our social media and our Discord.
People are reasonable.
Because, in top place we have Seleucus the First Nicator, today's candidate, with a 33% of preferences wanting him to go through. So he's the highest. He has a plurality of votes. And next up, there's a tie for second place between Antiochus the Great, who's the one we passed through, so agreement there, and then Musa. We sort of kicked out, we essentially put her fourth in this category because we thought Kavad was more interesting than her. But still, the audience thought that, Musa was a likely candidate, but unfortunately, no, she got stuck in the...
Maybe they just knew my bias, you know.
They just expected you to go for Musa. And then tied for fourth place, we have Kavad the First and Bahram Chobed with 6% each. So we decided that Bahram actually was the one we kicked out first. Kavad was in there until the last, fighting with Seleucus. But ultimately, we followed the wisdom of the crowds unknowingly.
Yeah. And
we went for Seleucus and Antiochus. So one of our least controversial takes outside of the Cyrus beating Musa.
True.
Which remains our most controversial one so far.
Deal with it, guys. Come on.
Yeah. And so today, Sarah, we're going to do two things. We're going to look at all the total scores. Today's the total score round. We'll get to see who are our top scorers, who are our lowest scorers, any interesting scores, and see which which dynasties score differently based on total score. So we can have just a general picture on overall who was rated the highest in our podcast.
Okay.
So we can see. So to start with, let's go with the top 6 of our scores. We already announced this at the very end of the podcast and the Asgard's episode, but it's good to just go through it again.
Yeah, people have things going on in their life they don't remember.
Yeah,
unless they're binging
it's been a few months
the
ago.
episodes, which I guess at some point you will be able to.
Yeah, at some point you'll be able to just like zoom through everything in like a long weekend, fueled by coffee and sugar, presumably. But yes. So the winner of our podcast in terms of score is Darius the Great, one of our contestants today. He had a total score of 80.1, beating the next highest person by 2 points. So he almost was defeated, but he got pretty high up.
He shows the bias of the ranking system of this podcast, right? It's like you have to have been a good ruler, but also quite shocking, also quite schemy, also just a good story and an interesting character. And like he's all of that.
Yeah, Darius gets grades above average in every category except final moments.
Yep.
Because he just, died peacefully and
which, a win for him.
Nobody really knows the
a
details.
Win for him,
so
you gotta say.
Yeah, win for him. It's just we don't care for it. It's just you need to have something dramatic happen. Then second place we have Shapur II with 78 points. He gains a massive score here from his reign. He reigned for 70 years, our longest reigning ruler. All of them, so very cool. And he is actually slightly less shocking than Darius. He gets a scheminess below average, and also his final moments as well. We were mostly shocked that he made it this far. But overall, he doesn't do too many schemes. Reasonably shocking, but the schemes are rather limited. In third place, we had Khosrow I Anushirvan with a 74.8 out of 100. He was also very, very cool. He is above average in everything except final moments. It looks like apparently having a high score seems to correlate with a non-dramatic death.
Which makes sense.
Which I guess makes sense, but you can see that. But we'll see it's broken for the next few. But
yeah, I'm waiting for Alexander to pop up.
He is very impressive. Yeah, Khosrow I was in the top few he got a maximum score of Air and Shine.
Ooh.
Very high lengthiness score. Other scores were impressive, but nothing revolutionary. Then in fourth place, we have Antiochus the Great, the one who is in our other semifinal, with a 74.6 out of 100, so just 0.2 below Khosrow I. Very close. And Antiochus the Great is actually above average in all his scores, the first time that we have it for anyone. But his special advantage is that he is in a top 5 of scheminess.
Yeah.
He is in a top 5 of face of faces that we've seen. And overall, he also has a slightly more dramatic death, with the fact that everything sort of crumbles around him and he's killed while looting a temple. That was bad. So. And then in fifth place, Sarah, we have a tie between two rulers. Do you remember who tied for top 5th?
Is one of them Alexander?
That's right, yes.
Who tied with Alexander?
Who's another top scorer that we haven't mentioned yet?
I don't remember. I'm not going to pretend like I do.
The next one is Khosrow II.
Oh, of course,
our semi-finalists for the next round. So let's go through them in order. We have Khosrow II. So cool. Well, both of them have a 71.7 out of 100. Khosrow II, we put him slightly higher. We made him one of the categories just for affection.
Yes.
And overall, he has an above-average score in everything, as you'd expect. But he really shines in having the most impressive death of them all.
Yeah, true.
Which is honestly so horrifyingly dramatic.
Which is so interesting, because
like,
final moments is never like the focus of our kings, right? Sometimes it's more interesting than others, but it's just like, oh, okay, they were assassinated or they died on their deathbed.
So it looks like the top 3 of our scorers have a relatively peaceful death. Second half of the 3, so 4th through 6th, are actually quite dramatic in their ends. So that's an interesting mix between the two. It's something that I don't know if I would have expected it to split out that way, but hey, fun. And then last of the best is Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, he is bizarre in this category because he is basically in the top 5 for almost every category.
Yep.
Except Aaron Shine, where he is the lowest. He has a full 0.
Yeah, he would have had
everyone.
a higher score overall if he hadn't been absolutely terrible.
If he had been
Empire.
good, he if he had gotten like a 20, like Darius or many other these people got for Aaron Shine, he would have beaten Darius the Great. But just because he was so bad for everything, that's why he's in 5th place. And yeah, so his top 5 final moments, top 5 battle hardness, top 5 scheminess, top 5 shock factor, top 5 face of faces, and the other one he is not top is lengthiness, where he is actually below half point. So questionable, but there we go. So there we are. And well, all of these are Shahanshahs, of course, as you would expect. But I thought I'd gather some interesting facts because we have that the highest non-Shahanshah is Cambyses II with a 58.55 out of 100.
Is he
which is very impressive.
Cambyses the First is the one with the cats, right?
This is Cambyses II. Cambyses the First is Cyrus's dad, and he's just a king of Persia, not actual ruler of the empire.
Yeah.
And yeah, Cambyses II, one of the top 5 scorers for shock factor because of the cats.
So he is the one of the cats,
and other reasons. Yes, it's him.
Yeah.
But we didn't think he was worth a Shahanshah, mostly because it looks like his madness is mostly propaganda by Darius to say, no, I'm totally legitimized in taking over from the previous dynasty.
Yeah.
While in reality, he seems to have been
fairly okay.
Fairly reasonable, if not terribly impressive ruler. He conquered Egypt. That's pretty cool, but, it's mostly he pales in comparison to his father, Cyrus, and his usurper, Darius. He is in that middle ground where it's like, okay, then there's Cyrus, and then there was Darius. There was something in the middle, but we don't care.
I see, yeah.
While our lowest Shahanshah is Sinatrukes with a 23.85 out of 100. We thought he had a cool hat.
Yeah.
And he sort of pulled Parthia out of the Dark Ages, sort of ended a civil war. It was quite nice. We were reasonably impressed. Yeah, we were also probably a bit starved for Shahanshahs of that period. There was a bunch of
we needed something.
of suffering there. So yeah. So, but there we go. He managed to get a Shahanshah. But now, Serial, let's look at the Hall of Shame. Worst 5 rulers of all the Empire. I mean, not necessarily the worst, but the ones that we cared the least about. The one that had less to talk about. So first up is Khosrow the Usurper with a 0.025. He had no points for anything except the length of his reign.
Damn.
He was basically just a puppet of the nobles that was put on the throne and lost the throne as soon as possible and had nothing of note to recommend him by.
That's rough, buddy.
Nothing there. Honestly, I don't know if anyone can ever beat him because it's just like he ruled for, what was it, about 30 days or so?
Oh no.
And it was just, It's not very good. So, very limited. No. I'm selling him short. He reigned for about 2 months, 2 to 3 months, depending on sources.
It's almost double.
Or,
about double.
Yeah. Yeah, the shortest rulers instead are second place. Xerxes II, who ruled for 30 days. 40 days, actually, but yeah. He has a total of 3.013 out of 100. Very sad, very limited. We mostly gave him points just for the fact that he died kind of interestingly, because he was murdered by his brother at a festival when he was drunk. That gave him some something to talk about, but ultimately Xerxes II is, I think it's the first one where I tried to punk you, where essentially I just talked about his education.
Yeah,
for
you
half an
just
hour,
made
and
a
then
whole
was like,
tale
"Oh,
of
then he
like,
died."
you know.
Yep.
Let's talk about life in the Empire. I was like, ooh, cool, we're getting some insight. And
Yeah.
you were like, yeah, this has nothing to do with anything. I just needed to make an episode out of nothing.
Exactly. We needed to fill space, so there we are. That was Xerxes II. Third place was Shapuri Sharbaraz, the son of Sharbaraz, during the end of the Empire when everything was on fire.
Yeah,
Oh no,
I mean,
oh
what do
no.
you expect during the end of the Empire? It just kind of...
Yeah, he took the throne from Boran, one of our few female rulers,
True.
and he kind of sort of ruled part of the Empire, but it was under him that the Empire exploded into many regional rulers. It was just a mess. He has a 3.025 out of 100, where his points are 1 from scheminess, 2 from shock factor, and just the rest of his reign. So honestly, meh.
Yeah.
And he deserves it. Our fourth place is instead Adurnarse with a 4.05 out of 100, where you remember him, I mean you won't remember him, but he is notable for being the guy just before Shapur II.
Yeah.
He's Shapur II's elder brother, who eventually just gets killed really early. He is murdered in mysterious ways, and that's all that we have.
That's
so
sad.
He has a few points. Yeah. He gains 1 point for being murdered by the nobles, 1 point for shock factor. Oh, no, actually 2 points for shock factor.
What did he do?
Just presumably for existing. I think he tried to curtail the power of the nobles, but then eventually he failed miserably. So there. And then he had 1 point of Aaron Shine from you, because probably you felt bad for the guy, because he didn't do anything full stop, but he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Except for
He
being
didn't really
murdered by
have the
nobles.
time, but
Maybe he tried, I suppose.
Some people need very little time to mess everything up, so...
Yeah, worse people have existed.
Yeah, so you need to put it into perspective, you know.
And then our fifth place is Vonones II. Vonones II was great because he was so insignificant that I believe it was Tacitus said that he had a brief, perfunctory, and unmemorable reign, and that's all he wrote about him. Just one line, which is fair enough. And he got 1 point for Aaron Shine from me, because he sort of got elected and kind of stabilized the empire for Vologases I to take the throne, who did quite a good job. And then he actually had a Face of Faces, which gave him 3.5 out of 5 points.
Yeah.
So he had an above average Face of Faces because he had a reasonably interesting coin. I think it was front facing and all that, and it had a cool crown. So we appreciated that enough.
You gotta take the wins where you can.
So those are the bottom 5 rulers. Everybody else is somewhere in the middle. If you're not in the bottom 5, then you can consider yourself reasonably successful. You go, Antiochus the Child. You go.
Oh no.
But now, Serial, it's time to see who had the highest totals among our different dynasties. Do you have any guesses who the highest and lowest total dynasty will be? Anything come to mind immediately?
Is this always so hard? Because I don't... I think our longest episodes might be correlated to our...
I'd say that's reasonable. I actually should make a graph of that, but I
because
don't know.
then we have more to talk about, and that's that's kind of what we're grading.
There are people like Artaxerxes II who was just not very good, but we have a lot of information. So there are exceptions, but I think broadly you would say they're correlated.
I don't know. Enlighten me.
Well, so if we look at our averages, they're actually higher than I expected, Sarah. Because if you had to guess what an average score is, what would you say? Just
out of 100?
Spitballing, out of 100, what do you think is the average score that we've given out, at least? Knowing that Darius the Great is the top with 80, and Xerxes and Costa the Usurper is the bottom with basically 0.
I would say... Well, you just said it's higher than expected, so I'm going to say in the high 50s? I was going to say the 40s, but I don't know.
Okay, we had different expectations there.
I was going to say the 40s.
I expected it to be like 20 or something.
Oh
I thought it
no,
was just
no,
like,
come on.
that there's a lot of low rulers.
We have given a lot of higher. Yeah.
That's true. The total average is 31.33
Okay, so I
out of
overshot
100,
a bit.
which is higher than I expected, but apparently lower than you did. But if we break it up by dynasty, Sterile, surprisingly, the top dynasty of them all, this is without considering numbers, is the Medians.
Okay.
With a 36.55 out of 100.
I mean, they're
I
further
know,
back.
that was my thought as
They're
well.
further back in time where, like, legend and actual fact kind of, get a bit intertwined, and that means that everything becomes a bit more shocking, everything becomes a bit more heroic, right? Like,
yeah, I feel like them being so mythical kind of gives them points. Also, they have the advantage of not really having any really unmemorable kings.
Yeah.
Like, the only one is Phraortes, and he is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You can build a story about the fall of the Assyrian Empire there. So, overall, they're first place. Congratulations to the Medians.
that makes sense.
In second place, instead, we have the Achaemenids with a 35.31 out of 100. I think Tejas and Herodotus being our
the sources
hand-holding
really,
guides in this period definitely help a lot. And also, there's a lot of cool people. We have a bunch of important people. I mean, like, Darius is here. Cyrus is here.
Yeah.
And Artaxerxes III is here. Xerxes is here. We have a bunch of really famous people that, especially for Western audience, when you talk about the Persian Empire,
This is what they think.
this is what they'll visualize. They will think, oh, the Achaemenid Empire.
So they think of a very old
without necessarily
Persian
knowing
Empire,
other people.
really.
That's right. But this is the one that had more contact with the Greeks. This is essentially more foundational to history. Like, if you're studying Herodotus in a course on the origins of history, well, he's going to talk about this. And, well, that says, oh, yeah, I remember Xerxes. I remember Cambyses. I remember all these people. They're all relatively high scorers, and we thought they were quite interesting. Next up in third place are the Sassanids with a 33.01 out of 100. Honestly, fair. I think the Sassanids have a bunch of terrible rulers at the end, which draw down the scores a lot.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of short-lived rulers because the nobles meddle, and those don't get very high scores. But they also have such high highs. Like, they have Shapur the First, Shapur the Second, Khosrows, both the Khosrows, Kavad. There's so many interesting rulers, and even when it's not so high, I think we have the Shahnameh that helps us with the drama, because it's just like a great epic poem about these people. So even when you look at people like less known, such as Peroz the First or Yazdegerd the First, they're still pretty cool, and they have some myths about them that are exciting. Like, even just Bahram the Fifth, Bahram Gur, he is not especially memorable. Like, if we didn't have the epic poems about him, he would be like just a meh king.
But he has an epic
since
poem.
we know all these epic poems, then it's like, oh, well, that's really cool. He has a lot of exciting behaviors, a lot of exciting
archery.
things he works on. And then in fourth place, we have, archery is a big hobby among Bahrams, apparently. I mean, it's a thing amongst nobility here.
Yeah.
It's, as swords are to Western audiences, bows and maces are to Iranian audiences, because they're cool. It kicks ass.
It's their golf.
Yeah. Then in fourth place, we have the Seleucids with a 31.98 out of 100. The Seleucids, I think they have the advantage that we stop before things get really bad.
Yeah, and we kick them out. We're like, this is no longer the Persian Empire. We just
this
decide.
Is no longer our story. Goodbye. Yes. Because, at the end of the empire, it gets really sad because you have just, there's a 5-way civil war over basically 5 cities. And it's just like, just please stop fighting. If you work together, you would actually be able to amount to something. But no.
Yeah.
Why are you fighting over the scraps? It's just very depressing. But beforehand, we have cool people. We have Seleucus, today's, protagonist.
Yeah.
We have Antiochus the Great, another semi-finalist. And a lot of the Seleucids are just solidly competent. Like, we didn't give Antiochus the first a Shahanshah. Mostly, but we said that we would like to live under his rule. Because he was just solidly competent, not very exciting, just doing his job as you'd expect.
main
which is
character for a
good.
story,
Good for him.
but a great
Yeah.
ruler to live under, which, like,
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a bunch of slightly more shocking things when Rome comes in. So we have the Demetrius the
Oh my God,
First trying to
Demetrius.
fight
Yeah.
and escaping from Rome and being told not to get too drunk.
Yeah.
That's fun. We have Antiochus the Fourth. He was cool with the whole Hanukkah story and trying to conquer Egypt, but the Romans draw a circle around him and he
Oh no.
decides to leave. That was intense, but yeah, there we go. The Seleucids, exciting stuff, as long as you don't get too close to the end. Then in 5th place, we have the Argeads, with Alexander massively carrying everything here because, it's a 27.48. Let me just look at the scores.
How many
here.
Argeads are there?
There's 3.
Yeah, I was like,
Alexander
this
the
is
Great
not...
with 71.7.
Yeah.
Philip Aridaeus with 5.85, and Alexander the Fourth with 4.9. It's Alexander carrying, of course. It's
just 3 of them.
You can imagine that they don't have a massively high score because it is one top 5 ruler.
Shocking. Yeah.
And then everybody else is just, they were kind of just puppets and they didn't have much control over their
there for the
destiny,
aftermath.
and they just ended up murdered.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. They were just the figureheads when everything burnt. So sorry, Argeads. But the lowest ones and the last ones are the Arsacids, the Parthians, with a 26.46 out of 100. Mostly lack of sources.
Oh yeah, of course.
They had some interesting people. They have the Mithridates. Those are good. They have, the great battles against Rome. They have Carrhae. They have Musa.
I really wish
those are
we could find more sources, because this is truly not that it wasn't an interesting period of history. It's just we don't know.
No, exactly. There were enough interesting things happening. There were a bunch of civil wars. There was a bunch of drama going on. But all we really know about, like, there were a lot of kings where it's just, we have this coin with a different face and a different name on it, so presumably there was another king.
Mm-hmm.
The end. Okay, let's move on to the next guy.
Presumably someone took over.
Which is kind of a shame because, presumably they must have been as interesting as any other time period.
Yeah.
But it's just the lack of sources that really makes them the least known. And it also makes sense. Generally, the Parthians, again, I'm talking from a Western point of view, they're seen as, the guys that fought Rome a few times and won at Carrhae, and then Rome sacked Ctesiphon every other weekend for 100 years, and that was it. So, Sorry, the Parthians.
Yeah.
You tried.
No,
you
not
know
our
what?
fault.
You did your
best.
best.
Maybe one day we'll, find more documents or something.
Yeah, that would be
nice. Or invent time travel.
We do have some vague documents, but it's mostly just lost. Oh yeah, time travel would be helpful. Just get the funding for it, and then we can move over, do some exploration. And yeah, but now let's just go through the Bayesian adjusted mean and see what changes when we take into account the number of rulers we had.
Yeah.
So with this, we changed the top 3 most of all.
I bet Alexander is going to be up there. Because that's like a third with big points.
Yeah. It does increase the position, but not as much as you'd expect. Because the first position is the Achaemenids with the highest adjusted score. Second are the Sassanids, second highest adjusted score. And thirds are the Medians, who are put in their place for having, a limited amount of rulers, while, the Sassanids are really impressive while having 34 rulers.
Yeah, which, you have plenty to take.
The Achaemenids have 13, and the Medians have 4. Yeah. So, understood. And then in 4th place, we have, again, the situation remains unchanged. We have the Seleucids, 5th place, the Argeads, but slightly closer to the Seleucids, because Alexander is important. And then last again, we have the Arsacids with their very low position, unfortunately. So there we go. That is our set of the total scores. What do they look like? We got to reminisce about different dynasties in the meantime, so that's always fun.
Yeah. That's always good for me to remember what the hell happened.
Yes. But now, Cyril, it's time to go through with our semifinal and figure out who between Darius the Great and Seleucus Nicator will win. So now, Serial, as you may know, or may have forgotten, I don't know, hopefully you remember, we have a Patreon.
Yeah, no, I do.
We try to tell you about this at the end of every episode.
I am aware of the Patreon.
If you haven't listened to the end of the episode, we have a Patreon. It's there. And in our Patreon, we rank our kings based on certain categories. Or our kings, our subjects. They're not necessarily kings. Based on certain categories.
Or extra episodes.
And I thought, Sarah, it would be fun to rate Darius and Seleucus based on the categories that are exclusive to Patreon.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So we'll give a quick description, and that way we can sort of reminisce about what their lives were and what they were like, and that should help us form a decision on who to vouch for in the semifinal.
All right, bring it.
First of all, I'm going to start with a very quick recap of our rulers.
Yeah, they get their own little
few sentences
Patreon
just to
episode.
get us warmed up. Yeah, exactly. It's nice. Okay, so first of all, Darius the Great. Darius the Great, he is born. He is a usurper. He founds a new dynasty while claiming that it's still actually part of the old one. He cancels history so that it's actually renamed after him, and he is now supreme ruler and always was. He restructures the empire. He makes it more centralized, standardized money, roads, establishes new satrapies, builds the Canal of the Pharaohs connecting the Nile to the Red Sea. He has several wars against the Greeks where he wins in part, mostly in the Ionian revolts, but ultimately does not succeed in taking over Athens. He reconquers the empire while taking it over so he can rebuild it in his image. He does that. He has a war with the Scythians up in the north and manages to essentially obtain a stop to the raids into the empire, which is cool. He conquers India, makes it the most profitable province in the empire. And by India, I mean the Indus River Valley.
Mm-hmm.
He founds the basis for Persepolis and is the fundamental iconography after which everyone else will follow. Like, basically every founder of an empire we have covered puts something next to an inscription of Darius saying, look, I'm just like him for real. He's great. Look at him. I love him so much. His total score was an 80.1. He is our top scorer in total. We claim that he was neutral evil as his alignment.
Agreed.
And, well, we'll see how he... There we go. And we'll see how he does in the categories. I thought that we would do our Patreon categories in parallel so we can have a better comparison between the two rulers. Next up is Seleucus Nicator. He was very cool. He rises from a minor noble in the Macedonian court to becoming a king during the fall of Alexander's empire. He takes 1,000 men that he borrowed from Ptolemy and conquers Babylon, all the east of the empire, makes himself the ruler of the largest successor kingdom of Alexander's empire. Very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Actually loves his wife, doesn't divorce her when it would be politically convenient, and just carries on. That's nice. During the wars of the Diadochoi, he is leading the charge against Antigonus. He makes a deal with Chandragupta Maurya to get 500 elephants in exchange for the Indus River Valley. And he just goes over, uses these elephants to win the climactic battle of Ipsus. He is a great city builder. He gives a new soul to the empire. His new sort of mixed Iranian and Hellenistic son helps him to govern the empire and give it a new spirit. And people love him.
Yeah.
You know, when there's an attempted usurpation by Demetrius Poliorcetes, Demetrius's troops just abandon him to go to Seleucus' side because Seleucus says, hey, listen, I'm building something really good here. Don't you want to join? And they say, yeah, actually, that's fair enough.
That is some,
yeah. And
some serious, I was going to say riz, but how should I put it?
No, don't say riz.
Some serious...
we're not young enough for that.
Win for
charisma.
Some serious win for Seleucus, because the fact that you can just talk to an army and be like, guys, wouldn't you rather be with me? And the army to be like, yeah, you know what, we're not gonna fight.
Honestly,
incredible.
Yeah, fair enough. And then finally he almost manages to reconquer Alexander's empire, but is eventually murdered just before he could retire in peace in Macedon by a son of Ptolemy.
So impressive, because he would have continued to do great things if he hadn't been murdered.
Yeah, I mean, he was in his 70s at that point, and he was just saying he just gave his son Asia and said, you know what, you can keep Asia. I'll just rule in Macedon. I just want to retire that way where I was born. And then he's like, nope, stab.
Which is ridiculous. Someone was very emotional and mentally unstable.
Ptolemy Karaunos is a terrible man.
Yes.
But yeah, so Sarah, we have two basically founders of empires, either founders or refounders. One of them has a happier ending than the other one, but they all have to basically scrape their way up from almost nothing, from being minor nobles into becoming all-powerful rulers. So let's see how they fare against each other in our Patreon categories. So final moments isn't common, so we're keeping the score we gave them originally. So Darius gets a 0 and Seleucus gets a 6. But our first Patreon category is Woe is Me.
True.
Which is to say, how much hardship did they go through? How much did they suffer to get to where they were? How many ups and downs did their lives have? What would you say? So let's look at Darius first. Darius starts as a minor noble, has to reconquer the empire, reforms everything, ultimately dies peacefully.
I mean, he does have to usurp the throne. So, he doesn't start as the legitimate heir, which is, okay, a bit of a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, pretty straightforward. I mean, he has to rewrite history to give himself legitimacy, and he does it so well that, he effectively rewrites history, which deserves, recognition.
But I wouldn't consider that something that he's suffering for. I would say that's
just how he
the main bits where he's suffering for are, I'd say it's mostly the killing Bardia and the having to reconquer the empire, because you can imagine his face falling when you tell him, oh, he's king, but literally everyone has rebelled.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no. I need to get to work now.
Yep.
And people just keep rebelling. It takes, a solid 5 years of constant war and impaling people to just eventually get to the point where he's like, okay, nobody rebel. We're good. I'm king now. Everybody accepts
I'm
this.
king now.
Great. Love this.
Yeah.
So how would you rate this as Woe is Me? What do you think this
not
is?
that
What do you think
terrible.
this is worth?
I
feel like there have been people that have suffered more.
Yeah, it's a struggle politically, but he starts with a horse in this race.
Yeah. Starts reasonably well. I was thinking around I'm not sure, between a 4 and a 5. I'm trying to think.
Out of 10?
Because, out of 10. Because I'm thinking that a 5... Oh, actually, no. I'm thinking more of a 4.
Damn, I'm thinking of 3.
Because I'm looking at our previous scores, and a 5 is what we gave to Mithridates the 6th, Poison King, and a 4 is what we gave Alcibiades. A 3 is what we gave Cartier. Honestly, I think I'd go for a 4.
Okay.
Because I think he is slightly better. I mean, has slightly worse off than Cartier, where it's like, he ends in unfortunate status, but he really had to claw his way to getting up to the top. So I'm going to go with a 4. What do you think?
What was Cartier's situation?
Cartier, remember, he was the high priest of the Zoroastrianism under the...
Yes.
He basically manipulated the Bahrams into giving him a bunch of power, and then eventually when Narse arrived, he was sort of dethroned and had to live out his life in obscurity.
Oh, yeah, true.
So he went back and forth. He had to make his way up to the high of the court, and then eventually made his way down, but peacefully enough.
Yeah, but I think I would equate Darius to that. Where, he had to do a bit of a climb, but not from nowhere. He had a good claim. He just had to convince everyone else to follow.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a good claim necessarily.
That's true.
Had a claim because he was one of the guys that stabbed the king.
True. Okay, then I will meet you on a 4 then.
He says he has a claim, but okay, very good. 4 and a 4 is an 8 out of 20 for Woe is Me for Darius. What about Seleucus? Seleucus, instead, he makes his way up from a minor noble. He he has a lot of struggles. So at the start of his reign, he is made satrap. So he is one of the people that killed Perdiccas,
Yes.
the regent, the first regent of the empire. He is then rewarded with the satrapy of Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Antigonus, the one-eyed, passes through, Seleucus has to flee Babylon because he might get executed, and he looks for refuge at Ptolemy's place in Egypt. Then under Ptolemy, he works as an admiral for a while. He helps him with the army, and then he takes a small army, goes over, conquers the east, and then he does reasonably well for the rest of his reign.
I think this is more
not
war
struggling that much.
and
At the
more
end,
of a
he is
climb
eventually just
than
killed.
Darius, for sure.
It feels like more of a climb, yes. I feel like while Darius, once he, killed Bardia and made himself king, the road was clear enough.
Mm-hmm.
Seleucus, there were many points where he could have just failed.
And he persevered, and he, accomplished a lot.
Yeah, he managed to accomplish everything, and I do like the final sting in the tail of he was ultimately murdered. So that is ultimately murdered before achieving his final goal. And I feel like I appreciate that.
Same.
I don't know how high you would want to put that. Do you have a starting score to go off of? I
was thinking a 6 max.
I was also thinking about a 6. Looking at our previous scores, a 6 is what we gave to Themistocles and Mani and Demetrius II.
Yeah.
And Dionysus in India.
Yeah.
So I feel like a 6 is reasonable because it's not, he wasn't a slave or anything.
No.
We talked about this in the last round where Musa was there. So
Musa is the queen of this category.
Started reasonably, went off. Yeah, exactly. It's a shame she isn't here to see it, but yes.
She's in spirit. She is the blueprint.
So I think, a 6 is pretty good. Had some struggles, had to go back and forth, but ultimately, he managed to broadly achieve what he wanted to and succeed well enough. So you accept a 6 as well? So a 6 and a 6 is a 12 out of 20 for Woe Is Me.
Indeed.
Our next category is probably good for Darius, is just enough of a bastard to be worth knowing. How charmingly evil was this person, and how much would you want to see them as an anti-hero in a novel?
Absolutely.
So, starting with Darius. Darius, he kills his king. He makes himself, through several schemes, become king himself. He eventually rewrites history so that he was always legitimate forever and a day.
I have such encountered feelings about
it. Yeah. Because it's messy. It's a whole thing. And he just manages to be just so schemy and manipulative throughout all his reign. He just circumvents a bunch of people. There's the Zopyrus story that's under Darius, if you remember, where he just said, "Oh yeah, you can be horribly mutilated. Go in the city and tell them that I've punished you,
and then they will trust you."
The city.
Yeah.
There's a lot of circumbobulations. For Darius's personal life, I don't know if there's too much. Like, we don't have enough sources to know about what was, did he have any especially interesting relationships with his family members. We don't know much. Yeah, but we know that he did essentially also kill a few of his co-conspirators when it became dangerous. So he is definitely enough of a bastard to be worth knowing. But how high would you rate it? Here, our champion is Alcibiades with a 10 because of being a bisexual disaster man.
Yes.
So
hard to beat.
We can see Dionysus in India got an 8. And Mithridates the Great of Pontus got 6. I mean, a 6 from each of us, I mean. Yeah. Also, Cartier got a 6. And, yeah.
Who was the guy that we hated? Because there was someone who was, in fact, too much of a bastard.
We hated many people, Saria. Too much of a bastard. Well.
I was like, I don't want to know him. I think he's terrible.
Oh, Alexander of Abonoticus.
Yes.
The false prophet. Yes, he was fun. I gave him a 6. I gave him a 7. You gave him a 6. He was a lot. Yes. But yeah, how do you think Darius stacks up against these people?
I mean, he would be fascinating to to meet. So like it is, yeah, I feel like he's one of those characters that you could still root for and at least admire for his intelligence, right? And his like strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I said that I had encountered feelings because of course, I am not a huge fan of someone rewriting history to rewrite what is seen as the truth to benefit them.
Fair enough, yes.
Because that is a very dangerous thing to do that we should try to avoid, even though there's always going to be a bias on how we tell the stories. And I am a big advocate for imagining things complexly and understanding things complexly and all of their different nuances. Which is harder to do and makes for a worse story, but it's, fairer and better for the truth. And so he's basically doing, using a method that has been used by many quite evil and oppressing factors in history. And he's no different. Right? Like, he wants to get to power, so he uses any means needed. So I'm like, not my favorite way to do it. To just rewrite things and pretend it's true and gaslight everybody. But if we see it as a story in the past that doesn't directly, affect us much.
Yeah, we're not condoning any of these kings, but... as characters.
You can see how, if I saw this in a book, right? As a character in a book, I'd be like, oh yeah, he is horrible and I love him. Like, he would be my problematic fave, for sure. So I think he deserves a bunch of points in this category.
I agree, I think.
I love him as a villain, in the same way that,
Yeah.
I am aware that in real life he would be horrible.
Evil, yes.
But... man, if he doesn't make a great character.
So what is your score there? I think I'm going to go...
I think I'll go for a 9.
I'm aiming for an 8, because I'm thinking Alexander Vabonoticus, he was a massive con man and a horrible man. But he was only doing it in his own little village.
There was nothing good about it.
And that was spreading out.
At least Darius then
Darius is doing this for an empire.
Yeah, did some good stuff. Once he was in power, he used it.
I think I'm going to stick with my 8. Do you want to go with a 9?
Yeah, I do want to go with a 9.
Okay, very nice. So he gets a 17 out of 20 for just enough of a bastard to be worth knowing. But how does Seleucus do? Seleucus, we know that he is quite fond of night attacks.
Mm-hmm.
He tends to just show up in the night, kill a few people, and say, hey, army, your general is dead, do you want to switch to my side? And they're like, yeah, honestly, fair enough.
What else are we going to do?
That's how he gets his first army when taking Babylon.
That's
he just
incredible.
Specifically targets officers and says, okay, well, you have no officers left, you want to come to my side?
That's so good.
Okay. That's fun.
Yeah.
He does a bunch of... He doesn't do too much, which is in this category. I don't think he's too strong here, because he does night attacks, that's helpful.
He's kind of a good...
He builds Seleucia on the Tigris, which is the foundations for Ctesiphon, to essentially circumvent the Babylonian priests and their influence. If you remember, there was an anecdote where when they were founding this new city of Seleucia, the priests had given the wrong date for the foundation so that it would be inauspicious and they had to abandon the city.
Yeah.
But Seleucus found out and had his soldiers spontaneously start digging at the correct time of day. And he said, oh, it's a miracle. So clearly we're well favored. It's great. I love it.
If you're going to use bullshit to throw me out, I will use bullshit to stay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was just fun stuff. And besides that, personally, he does it. I don't know if it's in this category, but personally, he does marry.
Oh yeah, he stays with his wife,
which is Stratonike.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he marries Stratonike later, and then his son falls in love with her, and then he just essentially gives his wife over to his son.
Yeah.
Bit weird. Don't know if it's in this category, but bit weird.
A choice.
But generally, he is quite nice. He seems to be like broadly. We called him neutral good in the last round. So broadly, he's quite good. I think he gets some points. He is able to use a nice scheme and play around with it when the opportunity presents itself. But I don't think that's as high as possible.
That's not what defines him as a ruler.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that. Ooh, so I'm looking at previous scores. I'm seeing that I gave Pompey the Great a 4 out of 10, and you gave him a 3 out of 10 for this category. I feel like it matches.
It's the same vibe.
I feel like it's a sort of schemy, and we also gave Ashoka the Great 3 points each. So I feel like he's in that broad area.
Agreed.
I'm gonna give him an extra point to match Pompey. So I'm going to give him a 4.
I will stick with the 3.
What do you say?
I don't think this is his category. You know.
Yeah. So with a 4 and a 3, he gets a 7 out of 20 for just enough of a bastard to be worth knowing. Our next category is tea time. How likely would you to go and grab a tea with him? So let's start with Darius.
Darius scares me.
Would you like to just have a chat with Darius? He is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Darius, I mean, it would be fascinating, but I would be terrified.
He would be scary. I don't get the feeling he is a nice man.
No.
Like, I don't feel like he's gratuitously evil.
No.
He's not Caligula or anything. But
He's
he
just very
does feel like
powerful
I
and-
would be concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like so one thing is that personality-wise, I get a vibe off him, but I don't get a full person off of him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I get a feeling that he is, mischievous and power-hungry and very intelligent.
Yes. Which is a
But I don't
dangerous
get
combination.
a personality. Yeah, exactly. It's terrifying.
He's ambitious.
But I don't get like a full person. I don't get this is the type of story he would tell at a bar.
I don't know.
Type of experience with him. So I feel like he is slightly lower than others here.
Very intimidating.
But yeah, I'm not sure. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. I would feel very intimidated, which might make this coffee or tea date a bit less enjoyable.
But it would be cool to know how he went about the plot.
Yeah.
That would be a great chat. Like,
of course, it would be so interesting.
Get a few wines into him and say, please tell me how you planned to kill Bardia. It sounds amazing. I think
we can start with a fairly high. We can start with a fairly high score and then deduct some points for the, how scary he is.
Yeah, exactly. In my head, I'm broadly thinking to match Ashoka the Great with a 6-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ashoka's very cool. He was very interesting. And there's a lot of drama that goes into his life. There's a lot of back and forths. And I feel like Darius is the same. I feel like he's very similar in that I don't get a full person out of it, but I get a very strong vibe and a few interesting stories I would like to get out of him.
Yes.
So my basic score is a 6. I don't know if you have any
I don't think I would go any higher.
plans.
It would be an incredibly interesting
Would
conversation.
you go any lower?
No. I think a 6 is good.
Yeah.
It would be an honor to be able to talk to this man in like a neutral,
I mean, it'd be
welcoming
exciting
setting.
to talk to any of these people, but yeah.
But also, I might recommend somebody else instead of myself to go
Yeah.
and do that.
There.
Someone more prepared,
So with a 6 and a 6, he gets a 12 out of 20 for tea time. And next up, Seleucus the First. How do you feel about him as a person? We called him neutral good.
Oh, he feels much
like
more
he
approachable.
would be pleasant.
Yes.
Yeah, he feels approachable. You can imagine like going over to dinner at the Seleucus's place where like he and Apama are there just greeting you and saying, hello, how are you? Here's little Antiochus.
Yeah.
How are we doing?
Family man.
he feels nice. I just like Seleucus personally.
I know.
He
You have
seems
your
like
bias.
a nicer person. Yeah, he's good for the Empire. He does a good job. Everything is, he is competent.
Mhm.
He is tolerant. He does a good job.
He's not
People
unnecessarily
seem to like
evil.
him and like what he does. He isn't as cruel as
Yeah.
Darius. Not that Darius was gratuitously cruel,
No,
but Seleucus either doesn't choose to or doesn't have to make certain examples. He just goes about. Also, at the end of the Wars of the Diadochoi, when Ptolemy has invaded Palestine that Seleucus had claimed, Seleucus says, you know what? This isn't worth going to war over.
Yeah.
We're old friends. Fine. I won't say I won't say these are legally yours, but I won't fight you for it. Yeah. And so overall, he is quite cool. I like him and Apama. I think they're a cute couple.
You ship
They're
them.
good. And also the fact that he makes a deal with Chandragupta Maurya, and one of our Patreon protagonists, incidentally.
True.
That's quite cool. I like it. It's the fact that they reach an understanding instead of going to war. Or maybe they go to war for a short amount of time, but eventually an understanding is reached. I like Seleucus. I think he is
a good example of a good ruler.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it would be nice to talk with him. And also, he fought with Alexander the Great.
True.
That's cool. I mean, imagine the story. I mean, he must have so many stories from everything. Like, he was there at the center. He was there, during Alexander's campaigns. He is mentioned by name by Ptolemy in India.
True.
He is there at the court. He is there when Alexander dies. He is there when, Perdiccas is killed. He is just such an interesting character. And also all these times when he's fleeing around back and forth through the Empire trying to make something of himself, I feel like that's fascinating.
Yeah. Like, he, not
and
only
cool.
his own deeds are interesting, but also everything he must have lived through. The zeitgeist that he was a part of.
Yeah, I think that I don't think he's a full 10, but I think I'm willing to match the score I gave Dionysus in India and Mani and Alcibiades.
He will match a god.
Because I think he is, because I think he's just interesting and cool enough that he deserves like a 9.
Fair.
What are your thoughts, Sarah?
I'll go 1 point less just because I'd rather meet Dionysus.
I mean, to be fair, you gave Dionysus a 10.
True.
We had different scores there, you and I.
You only gave him a 9? Unbelievable. Yeah, no, I think I'll still give them 1 less. Because I think you are more interested in meeting
go for an 8.
But it is... I don't know why. No, I'll give it a 9. Why am I doing this? Like, I think it would be a fascinating chat, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so with a 9 and a 9, he gets an 18 out of 20 for tea time. Next category is Echoes in Eternity. How influential was this man? And we start with Darius the Great.
Incredibly so.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah. For many reasons. So, well, first of all, he establishes a new dynasty. That's impressive. He makes a new dynasty. That's what will be ruling the empire. He essentially builds up the myth of the Achaemenid Empire.
Yeah.
He is also the one that starts this war with Greece. So he's the reason, Herodotus decides to sit down and write his histories.
Yep.
That's pretty influential. That's exciting. He also restructures the empire. Under Cyrus, it was more of an echo of the Median Empire, where it was more like a federation of different local rulers with, it was very much like the Parthian Empire, where there's literally a bunch of kings and then a king of kings to rule over them. Under Darius, it is now a centralized, powerful state that will form the example for most empires west of China. Because, well, Alexander's going to take an example from this. The Romans are going to take an example from this. India's going to take an example from this. Anybody who's going to be in contact will take an example from this. So, extremely influential there. He founds the basis for Persepolis. That's very cool. That's very important for our memory of the Achaemenid Empire. His image is so iconic that every other king after him will want to imitate him, because that's the Darius look. That's what a great king looks like.
I've been drawing the
Exactly.
same aesthetic for a million episodes because of him.
Yeah, and I've been mentioning this many times before, but he constantly had, like, new rulers constantly put images of themselves next to Darius the Great to show their legitimacy. This,
To be like, look,
even
we're
in
besties.
the 1970s, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah of Iran, puts himself next to Darius because look at us.
We're still doing it.
We're still doing it. It's there. I think I also saw recently on social media, so grain of salt and all that, but there were people essentially showing, there was propaganda from the current Iranian state showing Darius fighting off foreigners, which is just, it's to this day is so influential as a source of legitimacy because he is Darius the Great. So honestly, don't know if you have any suggestions, but I think is just a 10 out of 10. I can't think of anybody who could be more influential than Darius. So you're matching.
In this context, yeah, absolutely. He worked really hard to make this.
So with a 10 out of 10, he gets a 20 out of 20 for Echoes in Eternity. But what about Seleucus? Seleucus, well, he founds a dynasty. The Seleucid dynasty is there after him. He founds an empire that will exist. You can argue that he is that without Seleucus, maybe Antigonus would have taken his place. Because Antigonus was the one that controlled the east and lots of Anatolia, so maybe he would have just done a similar thing. Instead of, Antioch, it would have been Demetrius, and it would have been Antigonea on the Tigris. That were the new cities, but ultimately would have been very similar. Seleucus, ultimately, his empire does last for several hundred years, but it doesn't have such a deep cultural impact because there's nobody that mainly claims the Seleucids as their heritage. Like, while people look at Darius the Great and say, we're his descendants, look at us, we're so great, this is why we're legitimate. Nobody says, oh no, look at Seleucus, we're his descendants, we're so great. It's mostly just, it's a thing that sort of dies in and of itself when the empire
it lasted
dies.
for the empire, but not across time.
Yeah. You can also argue he does found a lot of interesting cities.
True.
Like, he found Seleucia on the Tigris that will turn into Ctesiphon, which will turn into Baghdad. He founds a lot of cities. He founds the city of Antioch. How important has Antioch been in our podcast? It's been there forever and ever. And, well, Seleucus is the one that builds it. It's also thanks to his influence that a lot of Syria is urbanized and a lot of different areas are built up. It's also thanks to him that there's an extremely large Greek population in that area. It eventually fades away, especially under Sassanid rule, but during the Parthians, a lot of these independent city-states are an important element of rulership. And then you can sort of claim, and we can judge this, that the reason the Iranian empires never made it to the Mediterranean, that Parthia didn't make it to the Mediterranean, was that the Seleucid Empire focused on Antioch instead of Seleucia in Mesopotamia. Because that's ultimately where the remainder of the Seleucid Empire was. And though it collapsed in the east, in the west it was eventually taken up by Rome, who ended up being the Mediterranean Empire.
True.
And if instead, they had focused more on the center, then maybe more on Mesopotamia, and maybe when Mesopotamia fell, Syria would have gone with them to Parthia, and we would have had a different type of world with, the Romans in the Western Mediterraneans and Parthians sitting there. Who knows?
Interesting.
But overall, I think Seleucus is influential. I wouldn't say he is as influential as Darius. Let me find a comparison to previous rulers to look at him. Because Ashoka the Great. I would say he does match Ashoka. I don't know if he's maybe a bit less. Because Ashoka does found this, great Indian empire, does greatly popularize Buddhism, but ultimately in India, Buddhism sort of fades away in favor of other religions.
Mm-hmm.
So Ashoka's legacy is also an empire that will fall shortly after him, but he himself is greatly remembered. Other people that got an 8 are Gregory the Illuminator, who Christianized, Armenia in particular, but the Caucasus more generally, so that's pretty impressive. You also gave it to Pompey the Great for his wars in Rome, for conquering the East for Rome, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And as for lower scores, you gave Mithridates of Pontus a 7. I gave him a 5 because I thought that ultimately his empire was taken.
True.
And those are the broad ones I could compare him to. What do you think he fits with Seleucus for Echoes in Eternity?
Yeah, I think some recognition, but nothing crazy. I think Ahsoka is a good comparison. You are correct.
I think it might be 1 point less. Because Ashoka is remembered as, some of his symbols are symbols of the modern country of India.
True.
He is remembered as, yes, he is our ancestor. He is our founder, if you will. Seleucus, there's nobody that says, look at
I
Seleucus,
claim him
he is
as
our founder. Yeah, nobody claims Seleucus.
True.
Yeah, people claim Alexander and they fight over it, but nobody claims Seleucus specifically.
Which maybe they should.
I would say a 7 because it's just there, but not
He's
as
a better
much. They
choice
should. He's fun.
than
He's
Alexander, but okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's a better person, certainly. So are you sticking with a 7 serial, or are you moving up or down?
What did Ashoka have? A 7?
Ashoka had an 8.
Oh, yeah, no, then I'll stick with a 7. That sounds good.
Very good. So Seleucus gets a 14 out of 20 for Echoes in Eternity. And well, the other scores are 4.5 out of 5 for Face of Faces for Darius, and 5 out of 5 for Face of Faces for Seleucus, and a 3.6 out of 5 for Lengthiness in Darius the First, and a 2.8 out of 5 for Lengthiness in Seleucus the First. Which leads us to the final score, which are very closely balanced.
Seleucus had a very good mug then, as in Face of Faces.
Oh yeah, definitely he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He was one of our top.
Yeah.
I think you
It
put
was
him
the
as
statue, right?
4th or 5th. He was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the dark statue with the eyes that were still shining, which was pretty
so cool. Yeah.
So yeah, Serial, we get a final total score, which is very balanced. So we've chosen a good semifinal, because Darius the First gets a 65.1 out of 100 in this Patreon score, while Seleucus gets a 64.8 out of 100 for this Patreon score. So just 0.3 less than Darius.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, this is how I feel about them, so...
Yeah, fair enough. And well, now, Serial, now that we've discussed them, now that we've gone at length saying who they are, what their deeds are, we need to decide who goes through. This time, we only have a choice between 2 people. We just need to choose who is our
It doesn't make
favorite.
it easier.
Like, if you...
Because I don't feel
if
strongly...
you had to tell somebody on the street about one of these
It has to
things,
be Darius.
who would you?
It has to be Darius, because that's what everyone does. They go the one king of Persia. Even though I feel like with him being so far away in history, you're painting the picture of a very antique and old Persian empire, which, like, it's its own thing. Like, if someone asked me about the, like, ancient Persian empire, then without a doubt it would be Cyrus and Darius.
Right.
But the Persian Empire as a whole is like, we have so many eras. You would have to choose one from each dynasty at least. But
it's 1,300
Yeah.
years of history.
it doesn't stay the same.
That's quite a bit.
But I feel like if nobody
No.
knows anything about the Persian Empire, you have to tell them about Darius the First.
Yeah.
And also, I feel Plumus's eyes on me as I say this. So, yeah.
Loomis would murder us, yes, I see. I feel like I I like Seleucus, and it's
Yes.
nice to have somebody in history who was like...
He's an example of a good ruler.
Again, he's a king. He's not necessarily a good person,
Yeah.
but he is a good ruler. So I think he deserves his place here. And there's going to be a serious discussion for, the baby final for third place.
Yeah.
But I think that he actually Darius is just so emblematic. We saw this in the Echoes of Eternity. Darius it's him. He's on a pedestal for everybody to see. While Seleucus is cool, he is interesting. People should know about him. But when I'm introducing, when I'm doing an elevator pitch and people are saying, "Oh, you do a podcast, tell me about a king." Like, well, I'm gonna start with Darius because it's just so dramatic. The rewriting history itself is just so
Do we have no movies
incredible.
about him? Or shows?
Not that
or
I know
something?
of. If
Because,
anybody knows, please send us. There should definitely be a show about Seleucus.
Yes.
Darius, don't know anything about it. Seleucus, he appears. There's a cameo in the Alexander the Great movie by Oliver Stone.
Fair, because he was there.
I think he is just
that's
a background character.
That's the bare minimum they can do.
Yeah, he's not mentioned in any way, but he's just there, essentially. But definitely should have a series about the Wars of the Diadochi. It deserves that much. But yeah, I think ultimately, Serial, we should let Darius through into the final. And Seleucus can stay over here.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Seleucus. But during the royal hunt, he accidentally fell off his elephant and was about to be trampled by him when, from the audience, Ptolemy Carauno shot him an arrow and killed him before he was trampled.
I mean, I guess
that's what Ptolemy do.
I guess that's a bit merciful, at least.
Yeah, exactly. It's somewhat fine. While Darius crowns himself with laurels, crowns himself with the greatest pride of the empire, as he arrives to the final serial, which will be between him and whoever the winner is going to be between Khosrow II, Parviz, and Antiochus III, the Great.
Oh my god.
Next round.
Anyway.
The next semifinal is going to be intense. We'll find out who wins. But for now, Seleucus is kept back. We'll see if he gets third place or if he's going to be in the 4. But he is definitely one of the top 4. He deserves his place here. We'll see what happens.
Indeed.
So thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed this first of our semifinals, and we hope you'll join us for the next one. Drama will abound. We will repeat this format for the next 2 kings, so we get to see how they stack up. And, well, then after that, it's the final. And boom, we're done. We have achieved what we promised to achieve, Serial.
Incredible.
We will have done it. So that will be great. But in the meantime, if you'd like to support us, there are many ways to do so. You can join us on Patreon, like our new patron, Gracie D. Thank you very much. Well, you've gotten a sampling of it here. We rate a bunch of different historical characters. We mentioned a bunch of them during this semifinal. And we get to rate them, we talk about their lives, and you get to vote on new episodes eventually, so we can see how that goes. We also have merch you can buy. If you want to have a mug or a poster about these kings or a print of Serial's drawings, we have those. You can find that in the link in the description. If instead you'd rather not support us monetarily, that's fine, but we appreciate if you could give us a review on your podcast app of choice. Let them know who you think is going to win at last, who you think was robbed in these rounds, who you think maybe was robbed of a Shahanshah in the first place. Who knows? We didn't even get to them. And we hope you're all just ready for the ending of the podcast because exciting times are coming. And in that case, without any further ado, we hope you enjoyed yourself and will join us next time with the second semifinal. Goodbye.
Bye.